Last night was a disaster. My girlfriend, Lisa, and I had been living together for 2 years, but recently, things had been rocky. Arguments over the smallest things had become our new normal. Yesterday was no different. The tension had been building all day. Dinner time arrived, and Lisa insisted on making us a meal, despite the palpable anger between us. I could see the frustration in her eyes as she chopped vegetables and marinated the chicken. The clanging of pots and pans echoed through our small apartment like a war drum. I sat at the kitchen table, scrolling aimlessly on my phone, trying to avoid another confrontation. The food smelled amazing. Lisa had always been an excellent cook, her meals usually bursting with flavor. Tonight, however, her anger was almost tangible. She moved with mechanical precision, and her silence was deafening. We sat down to eat, the tension hanging over us like a dark cloud. Lisa didn't say a word, her face a mask of barely contained rage. I took a bite, expecting the familiar taste of her delicious cooking. Instead, my mouth was assaulted by a strange, off-putting flavor. The perfectly cooked chicken tasted wrong, sour, rotten. The vegetables, though crisp and fresh, had an inexplicable bitterness to them. I looked up at Lisa, who was stabbing her food with a fork, her jaw clenched. "Is something wrong with this?" I asked cautiously. She glared at me, her eyes flashing. "What? My cooking isn't good enough for you now?" "No, it's not that," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "It just tastes different." "Well, maybe that's because you're projecting your negative energy onto it," she snapped. I wanted to argue, to tell her that it wasn't my energy affecting the food, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I forced myself to keep eating, each bite worse than the last. The food was technically perfect, but it was as if her anger had seeped into every morsel, tainting it. We ate in silence, the sound of our cutlery scraping against the plates, the only noise in the room. When we finished, Lisa stood up abruptly, grabbing her coat. "I need some air," she muttered, not looking at me. "Fine," I replied, too exhausted to fight. As she left, the door slamming behind her, I felt a pang of guilt. I knew I should go after her, try to make things right. But instead, I grabbed my own coat and headed out. I needed air too, and maybe a distraction from this never-ending cycle of anger and frustration.